welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes you through Formula One's backmarker teams from 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be, using the Cody's franchise games. And it's round number 8 of 2011, the streets of Valencia for the European Grand Prix, the penultimate Valencia race, and the second of only 4 European Grand Prix in the period of time, I believe, that we are running this series. A moniker that has kind of disappeared from Formula One, the European Grand Prix. The last one, I believe, was Baku in 2016, before that became the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So, much like Turkey a few reigns ago, this is a track that's on borrowed time, as I say. One more race after this in 2012, and then Valencia is no more. But it's a circuit that I've always kind of enjoyed driving. But in 2011, that doesn't seem to mean an awful lot, as we come into this one off the back of a pretty dismal Canada. The circuit I love driving the most in Formula One is probably one of our worst performances. We finished P19 with a 20-second penalty right at the end of the race, just because we span in front of some people and tried to regain traction to get pointed in the right direction again. And yeah, we're penalised for it. But that didn't really do anything to where we're at. We're still P18 in the standings, just ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Paul di Resta got his first point of the season, though, to finish in 10th, and is now 15th. But we are ahead, at least, of the Virgin Racing cars of Glock and D'Ambrosio, the 2 HRTs of Liuzzi and Kartikeyan, who are outperforming their other backmarkers, and Jarno Trulli and the other team, Lotus, who is right at the back of the field, and we are still level on points with Sutil and Maldonado, who are also still yet to score. At the top end of things, Alonso leads Mark Webber. He extended his lead in Canada, and he is currently leading our defending 2010 champion. Vettel there a little bit further adrift, with Button and Massa fighting quite closely for 4th. Lewis Hamilton a little bit further back in 6th, and then it's a gap back to Petrov, Schumacher, Rosberg, before the midfield runners, Perez, Alguersuari, Heidfeld, Kobayashi, Buemi, di Resta battle. And in the constructors, Red Bull leading Ferrari by 10 points, with McLaren cut quite adrift from the pair of them. In turn, they are quite a distance away from Mercedes and Lotus Renault. And it's Sauber, Toro Rosso, Force India with that 1 point. And then Williams, ourselves, Team Lotus there, Virgin Racing and HRT. So we're at least beating our low expectation of beating the other new teams. That's always, in these first few seasons, the goal, to beat those guys, because who else have we really got to compete with? We can fight amongst the Saubers, the Toro Rossos, the Force Indias and the Williams on track, at least for a little while, but I'm either having to defend very robustly, which I'm sure you would have seen a few moments of in Canada, or I'm essentially having to just cede the position and let them get on with it. This, I feel as well, probably not going to be a track that really suits us. Quite open, quite flowing, quite fast, even with the more technical sections that are around this venue. We don't have curves, we don't have the pace. I fear that this could be quite the dull race near the back. We're much quicker than the other 5 new team cars, demonstrated by the fact that in the last couple of races we have lapped them. I think every race now since, I want to say Spain, we've lapped at least one, if not all, of the other backmarker cars. We finished on the road literally just ahead of D'Ambrosio in Canada, but we were already a lap clear of him, so every time after I received that 20-second penalty, every time I backed off to try and let him past, he'd slow down because he'd been lapped. We lapped all 5 of them the last time out. We lapped all 5 of them in Monaco. And I think we lapped all 5 of them in Spain. So that's now become, I guess, a real non-essential secondary objective. Can we lap the other new team cars? Can we break into the midfield? That is a bit too much of a stretch, I think. But a circuit like this, you never know. We saw the amount of shenanigans and retirements from Monaco. This is also a street circuit, even if it is a little bit more wide open. So who knows what could happen. But don't hold your breath on miraculous points. But let's go and reacquaint ourselves with the Valencia Street Circuit. And what we do, we'll talk about the 2011 European Grand Prix. After a chaotic Canadian Grand Prix, the teams and drivers headed to the Valencia Street Circuit for the European Grand Prix. Earlier in the season, Charlie Whiting had announced the trial of a second DRS zone at Canada and Valencia, with further additional DRS zones being considered if the trials worked. This meant that Valencia was likely to be the first fully dry race where it could be judged to see how effective it was. There were also further bans on the use of off-throttle blown diffusers. The ban was scheduled to come into effect at the next round at Silverstone, but the FIA brought in extra limitations here, stopping the teams from running quote-unquote extreme engine modes in qualifying and changing to quote-unquote safer modes in the race. And in the final bit of pre-race news, Sergio Perez returned to Sauber after sitting out the previous 2 races due to his Monaco accident. Practice was a fairly routine affair with few incidents, though much like Canada, each session saw a different leader. Webber led the first session, Alonso the second, and Vettel in the third, while the McLarens were in and around the conversation at the top through all 3 sessions.
Fantastic data. This will really help the team develop the car.
The first qualifying session saw the same bottom 7 as was in Canada, Alguersuari joining the new teams in the Q1 elimination zone. Vitaly Petrov in the Lotus Renault was the surprise elimination in the second part of qualifying, especially with their pace, only managing 11th place. It was, however, Red Bull once again leading the way. Vettel took yet another pole ahead of Webber, with Hamilton and Alonso in behind. Sutil in the Force India managed to get into Q3 and lined up 10th, for a great result for Team Silverstone. When the lights went out, Vettel and Webber got away line astern, Vettel maintaining his lead while the Ferraris made quick starts, both Alonso and Massa getting past Lewis Hamilton. The McLarens both lost positions, Button fell behind Rosberg, though the Brit was able to get back ahead of Rosberg shortly after. Even with the addition of the second DRS zone, it was extremely difficult for drivers to make passes. The Toro Rossos demonstrated that as they both laboured and in the early stages failed to get past the Sauber ahead of them. The only real incident of note in this race was Schumacher misjudging a gap alongside Petrov as he exited pits, hitting the Lotus and damaging his front wing, but the race was otherwise fairly processional. That meant that Vettel took yet another victory, with Alonso coming in second and Webber in third. Hamilton took fourth ahead of Massa, Button and Rosberg, while Alguersuari took home a superb 8th place after his lowly 18th start. Sutil and Heidfeld completing the point scores.
The tyres and brakes are running at optimal temperatures.
The last race in Canada broke multiple records, and there were records broken earlier in the season. Valencia was no different. This took the record for the most finishes in a race, with all 24 drivers finishing. What can we hope for here in Valencia? Well, I do actually really enjoy driving this circuit, as dull as everybody seems to make it out to be, so I'm keen to push this Team Lotus car as hard as I can. But its lack of pace, especially on these long straights, is really going to be an issue. if we set a target based on how the rest of the season has gone, the likelihood is we'll take a comfortable 19th place. So that's what we're going to aim for. We should be well ahead of the other new teams, but possibly cut away from the established teams. So, 19th, I guess, is the goal. It would be nice to take another position, but it might really all have to just wait for race day.
We don't need to push too hard in this session. We should have the pace to qualify easily.
In the garage then, for qualifying at Valencia, and despite that message, I don't think this car's got the pace to get anywhere close to even 18th place. Practice with some R&D stuff, we were way down, and I mean way down. Still ahead of everybody around us, like our teammate and the other new teams, but nowhere near the Williams. Target has only just come down from our result in Monaco. It'll slip probably back into sort of 18th, 19th place territory next round, depending on how we do here. But let's get out there, let's get our fastest lap in Q1 and see if we can maintain our consistent 19th place streak. Time for our fastest lap in Q1.
You could probably improve in the first two sectors.
As you can see, already in the drop zone. Trying to keep the DRS open for as long as possible, but that kink on the straight almost throws the car around. Pushing really hard out of these first couple of corners, DRS open as soon as we feel it's sensible. Same goes here. Should be able to keep the DRS open through, and we do, though again you can hear the back end trying to step away. We're up in our first sector, but still down on Barrichello ahead, but we're actually not too far away across the harbour swing bridge. Keep it as close to that inside wall as we can, and once again gun it towards the end of this long straight. Just keeping the steering as gentle as possible so we can keep the DRS open to gain as much as we can. But as you can see, we're at VMAX well before the end of the straight, and then into this technical middle section. A little delayed getting on the throttle there, and a lot of wheel spin trying to push. Not long left in this session, so we know we're getting to all or nothing territory. Once again, on the DRS early and pushing as fast and as hard as we can, but once again, reaching VMAX before we get to the braking zone. Up on our best time, but still a little down on Barrichello, run a little deep into the hairpin. And then it's this kind of quick final sector, throwing the car around as much as we can. There's somebody not far ahead of us, but too far ahead to gain a little bit of a slipstream from, as we once again keep the DRS open in some tricky places, which you could hear the car spinning the wheels up. We're now close enough to D'Ambrosio to get a little bit of a tow, but we cross the line and we still can't get out the drop zone.
Falling down the field, you dropped to 19th. Bad luck, you missed out on Q2 by 2 places. We're in 19th place.
Well, the trend continues here. We're 19th once again. 0.2 of a second off Barrichello. Gave it absolutely everything in the final few moments of qualifying. Just couldn't quite pull the time back. We're joined in the drop zone by Adrian Sutil, who's 1,000th of a second off getting through. And then Glock, D'Ambrosio, Trulli, Cantacanli, as you'd expect. But as you can see, we're 2.5, 3 seconds, if not more, clear of those guys. So you can see the gulf in class between us and our fellow back markers, but then also the gulf in class between us and the rest of the field. This, I feel, is going to be another fairly painful race where we could go for the early overtakes, obviously, and really try and take it to the midfield. But I feel our lack of pace in a straight line would undo us almost immediately anyway. So it's going to be a long one. It's going to be a tough one. But let's cross over to the race and see what we can do in Valencia.
We've modified the car's exhaust system. The engine should wear less than normal.
Here we are then, in the garage for the European Grand Prix of 2011. And a little modification to stop the engine wearing quite as much, but that's not really going to make a massive amount of difference to our performance, I don't feel. But 19th, kind of where we've qualified pretty much every round this season, but I think Australia and China. I might be correct in thinking that. I am correct in thinking that. And a season of no points so far, and I don't feel necessarily like this is going to be somewhere we can take them. But let's take a look at the grid first, and then we can get an idea of what we're going to be doing here. Mark Webber took pole from Sebastian Vettel, Jenson Button, championship leader Alonso in 4th. And it's Massa, Hamilton, Rosberg, Schumacher, Petrov, Heidfeld, the top 10 that's been pretty much the top 10 every round bar maybe China, and I think that might be it. Then it's Kobayashi, Perez, Alguersuari, Buemi, Di Resta, Maldonado, Barrichello. Those are the guys that we've spent a lot of our time fighting when we've managed to gain positions in the early stages of races. And Sutil dropped out in Q1 with us. There we are in 19th. We're ahead of Glock, D'Ambrosio, Trulli, Kartikeyan and Liuzzi, who we should streak away from. This place got a lot of stick back in the day, and to be fair, I think people still give it stick now. For me, I actually quite enjoy driving this place. It's a fun track to drive. Yeah, a little boring, and the races weren't classics. It had its moments. Obviously, in 2010, Mark Webber vaulting a Lotus, and 2012 was quite the entertaining race, but it was his only moments, and it was only a short-lived circuit. I think I said in the 2010 race for this one, I've walked bits of it. Obviously, most of it next scrubland in a car park, so it's unlikely we'll ever see it back again, which is a shame. I do genuinely think it was a fun drive, if not the most exciting of racetracks. And I think that we're probably going to see this race pan out a lot like the rest of this season. We might be able to gain some places off the start, but with 2 really long power stretches, 3, I suppose, if you include the start-finish straight, we are likely to get swallowed up by the pack. I feel like there might be a retirement or 2 in this one, but I'm going to aim just to hold position. We aimed a little higher in Canada, and it all kind of fell apart. I think we just focus on our own race. If we do make positions off the start, defend where we can, but maybe just try and bring it home comfortably in 19th. Maybe we'll lap the other new team cars again. That seems to be, as I said in the last round, a low-level secondary objective, really, is just kind of lapping the other new guys, just because it's become more regular since about Spain. I think every race we've lapped them all, and I think we could probably do it again here. We are 2.5, 3 seconds a lap quicker than they are. But let's head over to the grid and get on with the 2011 European Grand Prix. All Red Bull front row, Webber from Vettel. There we are, 19th, Mr. Consistency in qualifying. There's Trulli a bit further back. Straight on the power here. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. Away we go at Valencia, and as always, a fairly lightning quick start. We can draw up alongside Adrian Sutil. Just a little wide. I haven't really gained a huge amount of spots, as everybody gets a little bit stuck through turns 1 and 2. And again, everybody kind of backs up into the next couple, and we're up to 14th. A little bit of bumping and barging through all of that, but we're through it. Again there, Nick Heidfeld falling back out of the top 10. Are we going to go for the move on Perez here? We are. Kind of half-heartedly. Right, with the Mexican. Just trying to stay right in his slipstream. See if we can break him into the next corner. We can.
Just watch the aggression when you're overtaking. We don't want to lose places because of a
bumped Heidfeld, who kind of came across. We're up to P12. I mean, that wasn't the greatest of manoeuvres, that's for sure. Trying to leave the door open for him to go back past, but chooses not to. And we've already lost the back of Adisswanto. Heifeld starts in the top 10 every race, and every race I think, or at least most of the ones that I could immediately recall, it's fallen out of the top 10 quickly. Now we've either found our way past him or been in and around him after the first lap. In the real world, not much longer for the grid in 2011. Will be replaced by Bruno Senna later on in the season. Let's wait off the outside there. Let's move gently back towards the racing line. It just bounces off the side of the car. Back into Rich Mix, get into the slipstream. And get it stopped on the apex. Great move, that one. And has actually let Perez through. Heifeld having a bad day. As has so often been the case this season though, we've had a good first lap or so. We're now just going to spend our time under attack. I was about to go to the inside to defend. Perez took the gap though. Was able to just hold it around the outside of him. The yellow flag behind me as I go flying off circuit as I'm trying to sort out my fuel map. Not sure who the yellow flag related to. Doesn't look like it was anybody immediately behind.
Within the next 5 laps.
Or anybody immediately ahead because we're still P12. Safety car deployed.
The safety car's been deployed. Safety car deployed.
Not sure who for. No Delta to worry about as I run wide.
This is a good opportunity to save fuel. Change fuel mode to mix 1.
Drop the fuel just to try and give us a bit more to attack later on. Defend for the most part. Only the second safety car of the season, the first one being at Monaco, so street circuits like this really safety car hotbeds. We're actually losing time on the leaders, but we'll close up to them in just a second. Keeping an eye on that MFD, because if that rejoin then says 12, we're diving in. Adrian Sutil that has dropped out of this Grand Prix. He was behind us. Started alongside us, obviously, on the ninth row of the grid.
In this lap. Come into the pits at the end of this lap. Safety car is coming in this lap.
Safety car's coming in, but
remember to pit this lap.
Still suggesting there's going to be pit stops. We're going to dive in. I've easily rejigged the strategy, but as you can see,
Go now.
a group of cars in.
You've picked up some marbles. Expect reduced grip until you can wear them off. Stay on the racing line.
Came in behind the Red Bull. Can we get out? Can we get out? Oh, we're going to get held. Everybody goes streaming past. Oh.
Go now.
That hasn't worked out for us at all. Maybe we should have come in while the safety car was out.
We fitted you with a new set of prime tyres. You have 2 stops remaining. 2 stops.
Oh, that hasn't worked out for us at all. Problems with bitting down at the back of the grid, down at the end of the pit lane. Could regain some of our spots. Should.
The car ahead is holding you up. We need to pass. You're currently faster in sector 1.
We're stuck behind Barrichello, I think. There are cars in the pits. Trulli D'Ambrosio.
We think that Barrichello is due to pit soon, probably within the next 5 laps.
With Sutel's demise, we're in P18, which means the only cars behind us are the HRTs, the Virgin Racings, and the other Team Lotus. We're not losing Barrichello up ahead.
Lap times are looking good.
Will a little now, though. It'd be nice to catch up to these guys and actually make some on-track overtakes. I mean, he should get mugged here by Buemi into the hairpin. He does not, and there's bits of carbon fibre, it's bits of Buemi's front wing.
Remember to use DRS to gain a speed advantage if you need to get past someone.
We're past Buemi as he clattered into the back of Rubens Barrichello.
Webber's really going for it. He's just put up a new fastest lap.
Buemi's going to have to roll the car in.
You're keeping up with race pace. Keep pushing.
Barrichello's actually got by De Resta. There's the Force India. We'll easily have DRS off the Williams this lap, I feel. Feeling much better here, even though we're 17th than I did in Canada, because we're chasing rather than defending. Barrichello defending from De Resta. They come together on the exit. Winner right with them. Good run out the final corner.
Next up is one of the Williams.
We're past Barrichello.
Our calculations estimate that De Resta will be pitting within the next 5 laps.
P13 all of a sudden, so I'd assume some people have come in. Really not paying attention to what position I was running, more just focused on getting past Rubens. Barrichello heads in, Heidfeld's in as well.
Heidfeld is pitting.
P12, mainly I think because we're out of sequence, but P12 nonetheless. The pursuit of Paul De Resta is probably done for now. as it's now Schumacher behind me. Got on the curb there, and the car just went round. Kobayashi pitted. We come in this lap because the tyres pretty ruined. So we were pushing so hard to fight Barrichello and the Resta.
We estimate that Schumacher should be pitting in the next 4 laps.
We come then. We'll lose maybe a couple of spots. Maldonado goes by. Barrichello would go by.
Go.
He does. Buemi, I'd assume, will also go by. Or not, actually. We'll come out in P15.
Put a new set of the option tyres on the car. That leaves just 1 stop remaining.
A little wide there. Right, that's P15 though.
The car ahead is running on the prime tyre. We have an advantage here.
I'm actually kind of on pace, P15. This isn't a... I don't feel like this is a... 15 through other people's misfortune. As far as we know, only Adrian Sutil's dropped out. We're 18 seconds clear of Buemi, who obviously had lost his front wing on the back of Barrichello earlier on. To get back into our rhythm now, we have some clear track both in front and behind. Made a bit of a mistake there. Actually started gaining on Barrichello, and that'll cost us. Does, however, look like Barrichello on the mini-map is up behind somebody, possibly even De Resta again. Everybody is on the mini-map as well. Maybe the first race in a few that the other new team cars don't get lapped. They are... You might just about be able to see the yellow dot down at the bottom of the map, just heading up through Sector 2. Where they are roughly, as I've got Buemi for company. There's a little ruined. Should last to the end of the race as I run wide. Buemi won't quite go for it yet. There. Buemi just enough racing room on the inside. I might pit in this lap, you know. Losing time with the tyres the way they are. Let's pit this lap, get some primes on. Hide Heidfeld's behind me. We won't be for long. Oh, there he goes.
Exit now.
Be well ahead of Cartagena. We are.
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
We were way ahead of Cartagena.
Some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
Too deep into turn 1 and just bounce off the wall. I think that might cost us an opportunity getting back past Buemi, you know. Despite our valiant efforts here, we're going to get lapped. Is that Nick Heidfeld though? I think it might be. Well, it is. We can get back past the German. Close enough, although basically pushing Heidfeld through the corners. Option tyres. It's going to make our lives a bit difficult. Can we fight off getting lapped? Looking on the mini-map, the nearest car is actually a little bit behind us, so we might be able to do all 29 laps of this one. First time this season.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Well, we made it 26 laps, but we're going to go a lap down as Mark Webber comes past. Mark Webber lapping a Lotus, passing a Lotus on this straight with DRS, probably getting PTSD. But that's fine. Into our final lap of this race. Ended up a lap down, but right at the death.
Heidfeld's outpacing you by around 2 seconds a lap.
Heidfeld is gone. We've got Trulli's right there, so we might lap Trulli.
To let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
I'm going to get lapped by Massa, possibly as I lap Trulli. There we go. Well, didn't come into this race with a huge amount of hope. Thinking we'd be massively outpaced. We bumped and barged our way through to a decent position at the start from our customary 19th spot on the grid. Early safety car decided to wait to come in with everybody else. That was a bit of a mistake because we ended up just being absolutely stuck in the pits. But we had a nice battle with Barrichello and DeResta, so we can pace with the Force Indias and the Williams cars as Mark Webber takes the victory to extend his championship lead. Will come around the final corner. I think P17.
Good race, well done. I'll see you back at the garage.
So there we have it, P17 in Valencia. First of those to be lapped, and literally lapped right at the death. D'Ambrosio, Cartagena, Glock, Liuzzi and Trulli behind us, Kobayashi and Sutil not managing to see the checkered flag. Sutil was the one that triggered the safety car. Kobayashi, not sure what happened. I know there was a yellow flag at one point. Yeah, it's probably to do with that. At the top end of things, though, Webber wins the race from Massa, Button, Vettel, Hamilton, Petrov, Alonso, Rosberg, Perez and Schumacher taking points. There's Alguersuari, Maldonado, Di Resta, Barrichello, Buemi and Heidfeld ahead of us. What does that mean for the stand-ins? Well, we'll start at the top end. Mark Webber extends his lead, or takes the lead, I think. He does. He takes the lead by 4 points from Fernando Alonso. They are pulling away from Sebastian Vettel, who's now really under threat from Massa and Button. Hamilton on his own there in 6th. It's Petrov, Schumacher, Rosberg, Perez, Alguersuari, Heidfeld, Kobayashi, Buemi, Di Resta with points. We remain 18th, ahead of Barrichello, Glock, Liuzzi, Carter and D'Ambrosio, and Trulli just in behind Maldonado and Adrian Sutil. And in the constructors, Red Bull lead the way from Ferrari, then it's McLaren a little ways back, way ahead of Mercedes and Lotus, and then it's Sauber, Toro Rosso, Force India, Williams, Team Lotus, Virgin Racing and HRT. Well, I wasn't expecting an awful lot out of Valencia. I thought the power differential was going to be far too great for us. And while we did end up kind of cut adrift in no man's land in P17, way ahead of the other new teams and way behind Nick Heidfeld, we spent the early part of the race fighting in the midfield as always, and then actually, after the safety car and after the pit stop, were fighting and keeping pace with Barrichello and Di Resta, and Buemi obviously fell by the wayside because of a front wing damage incident. These are not the words that go together, due to an incident that caused him front wing damage. Shows promise. It's still not going to be enough, I don't think, to really drag us into that midfield fight, because I think at the moment we are very much heading to a 0-point score season. Next up, our home Grand Prix at Great Britain. Not a circuit I'm very good at. Hopefully, though, you'll join me for that one. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and I shall see you for the next one.